I have been doing that, I think.
That's okay. I mean, I'm able to get them, but it just takes longer.
Have you gotten the last couple that you recorded on?
Yeah.
Is this on or does it have to be?
That you need to turn on. It's on up there. You need to turn that on.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. We're going to talk about buyers though, and I want to wait till Bree gets on here too. But we're also going to talk about your listing, presentation and stuff that you guys have got working. So, but the buyer part we really want to work with Bree because she's got something that's really happening right now. Do you have anything else in particular you have got working though that you want to talk about?
So, teacher at my wife's school has parents and a brother. Parents, they're 81 and 78, I think, and so they need a ranch style. So I said, yeah, I'll look and see if there's anything out there. There's one thing and one's pending. So it's like nothing right now.
Okay.
Very specific area. So then she said, well, my brother is going through a divorce, and he got the house, just got divorced. He got the house, he's selling it. It's out in Allendale, and he's pissed at the realtor. What a shock. Because it hasn't sold, and the listing is going to expire in a month. And he's looking for a new realtor.
Mhm.
So I said, well, can I at least get the listing or something? I need to know more. That's the information my wife came back with. I'm like, great, you want me to sell a house that I don't even know the address? A little hard, huh? Let's at least get the address.
Okay.
So I looked at the listing. It's a beautiful, gorgeous home on 5 acres out in Allendale Township. And then so I just did a little research and I said, it's $589.9. And I said, seems high. It's a beautiful home, but it seems high. So I looked last 2 years, nothing like it has sold for that high. The closest one is $575,000.
Did you did you do different ways of doing your search?
I did a couple different ways.
Like, tell me your different ways.
So I did one just by geography. Yep, geography.
Was it a school district geography or was it radius?
Allendale Township.
Okay, it was just the township
Just the
itself.
township itself.
Okay.
Then I did another one where I looked for properties like that and just tried to map them, and there was nothing close.
Okay, so you mean you didn't even put in a
Square
location
footage,
except for
square footage, bedrooms.
bedrooms. Okay, all right.
There was nothing really close.
Okay. What
So-
about with acreage?
With acreage.
Okay.
Minimum 1 acre.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. Minimum 1 acre. That's a good way to start.
Yep. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, if you want to, start a conversation, I'd love to start a conversation, but right off the top, we need to understand how the listing price was derived, because right now that listing price is higher than anything that actually sold.
Okay.
And if he hasn't gotten any offers, then the teacher had said that he's pissed off because he doesn't feel the realtor did any marketing.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yep. So I said, and because of the cost of the house, I said we need to come up with an executive search strategy.
Okay.
That people who could afford this kind of house and who would want this kind of
Target. That's called the target
Right.
market. So you're going to develop a target market. Good.
And that's where I left it.
Good, because first.
Because I don't have that.
Is
said-
what?
and the listing has to expire because I don't want to.
Yes.
Right. And
Before anything.
Right.
Now,
Expires at the end of the
people can come to you and not somebody's friend's brother told
Right.
your wife. They have to actually,
Right.
you can't tell them how to get out of a contract, and they have to pursue you. But your wife can tell the person to the teacher that you can't speak with them, approach them unless they want to speak to you until it expires.
Right.
And then you don't tell them how to expire a listing. You don't tell them anything bad about, and you don't give them a lot of advice until that expires and you can actually. Now, can you tell them your listing presentation? Yeah, they can interview. They own the house, right? And they are seeking you out.
Right.
But you are not pursuing that listing until they are expired. So you are not soliciting them. They can ask
No.
you for information, but you don't solicit. Okay, so that's very important because it's actually tort, what do you call it? Tort
Tort law.
law that if you tell somebody, if you interfere with somebody else's contract, you can actually be sued for that, you know. And that's outside of real estate. That's just, that's the law. Not that I'm a lawyer and I can't give legal advice, but it's just
But
something
I've
I've
heard
heard.
that.
Yes. Anyway, so, so the next thing is, that's excellent that, the red flag that I saw was, I hate my realtor because they don't do anything, okay?
Yeah,
And my house didn't sell. So they hate their realtor and their house didn't sell.
Right.
So you can expect that when this is your client, they're going to be telling people, I hate my realtor because my house isn't selling. So,
I also said to Tina, I said, remind this person that expensive homes have a much smaller pool of buyers. So
Exactly.
they generally take longer to sell,
Good.
no
So-
matter what.
okay, I would be careful about giving, see now you're kind of giving some advice around the horn there before that person has contacted you. So you don't want to give any advice on it currently listed, but that is the exact right thing to do because what are you going to want to do? You already know that that's going to be the issue with you. They're going to come back on you for that. So you need to start getting them ready for, guess what? It's going to take me a long time to sell your house too if you're going to insist on staying at that price point.
Right.
Okay, so you're doing everything perfectly. So yeah, when you get into that kind of a price range, by the way, properties, listings breed listings. If you're in high ends, you're going to get a lot of high end because you're going to be held in the open house. You're going to get neighbors. You're going to find buyers that are in the high end. If you get low end homes, you're going to find that for a while you're going to get a lot of low end homes because you're going to hold open house. You're going to have the neighborhood. You're going to have that
That type of buyer.
exactly. So it's really, really nice. And a good goal is to look for higher end stuff. So it's nice to land one and get a listing especially, or if you have to, get a buyer because you're going to get familiar with the homes in whatever price range. So getting up there in a higher price range is always great. So so he's going to wait. He's going to, through that
Till the end of the
grapevine, yeah, through that grapevine, tell that person that I'm happy to talk to you. You know, you could say I can help you when it expires, but
Which
I'm
is-
happy to talk. But they have to reach out to you.
Yep.
You know, you don't even want to say you have to reach out to me. Just say I can't reach out to you until expiration. If they reach out to you, then you're fine. You could go have an appointment with them and everything else. You could actually post-date something. If they want to sign up, that's fine, but not until after midnight, the day of expiration. So anyway,
So if they reach out to him,
They reach out to
someone has
him.
an appointment,
Mhm.
he can go ahead and set up the whole.
they
or
want,
something, but
sure.
post-date it for.
right, but you
after.
cannot,
Okay.
right, you can't put a contract on something that's under contract.
Right.
There is a delayed submission or delayed listing, whatever. Call 940-8200 and ask them if you can do that on, I would suggest you give them a quick call too and ask for Pam. Just tell her that you're a new agent and I suggested you give her a call on her personal take on the best way to handle that. Because she's the Gestapo, she's the police, she's the Guerrero police, and best
So to
to.
get her on board.
Yep, I would suggest
Mhm.
so. She might say to you, I don't even want you going in there, but then come to me, we'll talk.
Well, so the beauty of this is the listing expires October 31st, and I'm going out of town tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't get back till midnight, October 30th. Well, the morning of October 31st.
Oh,
So I can't,
You can't be there.
I'm not gonna be at that person's house, I'm not gonna do anything.
you can set up, if they reach out to you though, I would set up the appointment for.
Understood,
the
but,
first.
but I can't do anything in the
Right,
interim
physically,
really.
physically.
So I'm
You're
okay.
safe.
I'm pretty comfortable about it.
Good, cool. Okay, so then what your question is too, how do you target market on the high end?
Yep.
Okay, well,
Yep.
In the circles I ran with in Anchorage, it would have been easy because I had a huge executive network. Here, I don't have an executive network at all.
mhm.
So I'm like,
No way.
So you got 5 acres there. You're in Allendale Township.
township.
Okay. what does this person do for a living? You said a teacher, but who?
No,
who's the-
that's the sister. I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. And
Okay.
divorce, they have kids. I don't know who has kids. I don't know if the kids are still living with the father or the mother. I don't know anything because I haven't talked to this person because I'm not supposed to.
Right.
So,
Exactly. So one thing you know, you might want to consider doing when you talk to this person is find out who their sphere of influence is. Who do they work for? Where do they work? People that work with them are probably in a similar economic
he's a doctor that
sphere.
he's going to know doctors.
Yep.
Right.
So then you can ask them, you know, how do you feel about me reaching out? You know,
My neighbor's a doctor.
there you go. And people that are involved with what? What do they like to do? I mean, do they golfing? You know, is there a country club close by? Is there what other kind of clubs are there close by? You know, hunting. I don't know.
Well, I was thinking it's probably 15, 20 minutes to the lake. So,
Lake. Oh, boats. People
You know.
with boats, marinas.
Right.
15, 20 minutes.
It's got a huge pole barn, could hold RVs. boats, the
RVs.
whole thing.
Okay, there you go. Now you're just describing where you're going to look for those people. RV places that sell RVs. Guess what? You can go visit. One agent that we had, he just went to Florida to take care of his dad or down south. He loved to visit. He would pick something like maybe he has let's say it was his listing. He'd go hang out at the local car dealership or the local
RV dealer.
RV dealership. Go find local bars and restaurants. There's a watering hole always close by. And if you ever notice, there's cliques that hang out at the, like for instance, Timbers Inn. Timbers Inn has an entire network of,
We really do.
oh
It's
yeah,
kind of crazy.
What's
we go-
Timbers Inn?
Timbers Inn,
It's
it's
up
a
on Belden
restaurant.
Road, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little bit higher end restaurant. It's a little bit more expensive, but there is a culture there of people that are business owners, and I know because I hang out there.
You won't see it from the road. It's behind the strip mall, so you have to like go in by the strip mall and go back behind it. And it's just a little restaurant back in there. My husband and I will tend to go and just eat in the bar just because you're right. It's fun to people watch because there is such a different.
There's a whole
person.
culture there.
Yeah, whole
And
culture.
my friend Roxanne, in fact, actually, Roxanne and I have known each other for like 15, 20, going on a lot of years. And part of that is, you know, the social
Right.
gathering over there. And you get to know these people, and a lot of them own their own businesses and work with each other. And when Roxanne got into the real estate business, I was like, because our networks were the same, you know, a lot of it. And but I thought, well, and they're yours. So, but that's okay. I mean, you know. Hello, Bree.
So,
Welcome.
Good morning.
There you are.
better late than never.
Yes, and actually, we're talking about right now a couple of things, and then we're going to get to the buyer stuff too. So she's got an interesting story going on. So, and we're also recording this too. So if you want, anytime that you want, you can call if you have some extra time or whatever. You can call Jamie and ask her for a list of the titles of some of these classes that we've just recorded. So if there's topics that you want to, you know, kind of listen to, they're very boring because it's me talking all the time. And, but you can get those anytime you want. So anyway, right now what we're talking about is finding a target market for your listing. So Matt was talking about he has something kind of high end. So where do you find these executives, you know, to go market to? So we were saying there's usually cultures in like the restaurants or the bars of the restaurants or the bars that are around a listing. Go to a higher end place if you're looking at higher end. If you want you know, maybe a mid-range, there's like the little Vestal down here, you know, that's kind of little, it's a mom and pop type of local yokel type of, you know, place. But guess what? There's nothing. I will just tell you, when I bought my farm in Morley, I didn't know anybody. So I thought, okay, time to go sit at the bar, and I put on my cowboy boots and my flannel shirt, and I went to, it's called Mosey Inn in Morley. And I just sat and I talked to people, and I'm like, I'm looking for somebody that wants to farm my acreage. And sure enough, I got to meet some people. Now they all have my business card. And I also found a farmer to lease my 26 acres for hay. They're buying my hay. So it's a great idea.
Mhm.
And instead of putting on your flannel shirt and your cowboy boots, you want to put on,
My sports jacket.
you betcha, and go right around the, right after work cocktail hour, that kind of thing. Perfect on their way home.
Yep.
Another area that to meet people like that, pick up clients, whatever, is Grand Rapids, except for that's going to be more down to the downtown. Anyway, would be like the Marriott, JW Marriott. You got a lot of the corporate people that are downtowners. They like to go there after. So believe it or not, that's a really good resource. And we were saying also what this property he's got, it's a high end. It has 5 acres, has a big pole barn, and it's 20 minutes away from the lake. So we're talking about marinas now, people that boat. We're talking about the country clubs that are in the area, water, RV, people that RV. There's clubs and there's a group, there's online, it's called Meetups, is it Meetups?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I have a meetup tonight with rental property owners.
That's an excellent way to find a target market.
I could go to business owners,
Yes.
business executives.
Yep. So when you're in the interview,
Facebook?
No, it's actually it's an app called Meetup,
Okay.
and you sign on, and there's like, I can't tell you how many meetup groups there are. You could create your own meetup group, put it out there on Meetup. Like you get a listing of all the ones that are new. One of them was just on puppies, puppy owners meetup.
Okay.
But it's
and guess what? Guess who would be in that group? Puppies.
But it's just everything you can imagine. There's a meetup for everything.
I mean,
So-
Interesting.
I should be looking, we should be looking more in.
Yeah,
in,
and there's
that.
like business owners, there's young entrepreneurs, there's
Yes.
women's clubs, there's
Yes.
whatever. I was, if I had to start one, I was thinking of career transition meetup.
Career transition.
People who are changing their careers,
Awesome.
because I can
Inform-
participate in that.
And Forum Women has something like that too, by the way. That's but not for you. But
Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
Today.
yeah.
we could all go to your group because we're all
There
trying
you
to
go.
coordinate.
There you go.
We have
Well,
two
I'll
other
show
people.
up.
There
But
you
see,
go.
then you network outside of the realtor
Right.
to
Yeah.
other.
Right. I
So true. You know what? I'll tell you, Don Lamro, who was one of the founders, he always said, why the heck would I hang out with realtors? Because it doesn't make me any money. He was another one that he actually buys and sells bars. And he goes into the bars and he finds out what's going on, who's interested in buying and selling bars, and he spends his time hanging out at the bars so that he can his first business, and he enjoys hanging out at the bars. So I don't even think he drinks, but he just goes in there and gets to know people. And
I was thinking financial advisors.
financial
Oh, yeah,
advisors, they're good too. They're good too. I'll just say that.
Good
So
too.
it's hard to pin them
So what's
down.
going on in your mind right there? Because that's an interesting
that's-
body language.
Because they're a different personality, right?
Yeah, and they have their book of business, and they are more interested in shaping. I don't mean to be biased. I'm just from people that I've
Yeah.
gotten to know. They're more interested in shaping you into than they are in you buying real estate. You know why? Because they like to say, well, if real estate is more than 10% of your portfolio, well, real estate is expensive.
But this wouldn't be someone's investment potentially. I was thinking about people who have enough wealth where they would use a financial advisor, and now they're finding their primary home. I'm moving to the area, or I have a job, I got a new raise, I got a new job,
There you
I
go.
need a new home.
There you go. Yeah,
That kind of,
that would be
not
better
as
than
an
right.
investment,
Yes.
but as a primary residence.
There you go.
Hey, if you have
Great
any,
idea.
Like if you have any rich people, execs that need a home. let
Yes,
them-
there you go. Divorce attorneys. Attorneys are an excellent place to find
This
the,
guy's going through divorce.
there you go, I know. And, you know, it might seem a little bit morbid, but if you have some attorneys are great leads for realtors. And, you know, get an attorney that's a high-end attorney. And guess what? Get them in your little network group. Remember we were talking about your own professional network group?
My
By the way-
attorney is with Farnham, so she would know some
Farnham?
folks.
Yes. Jim Mitchell used to be one of the owners at Farnham, and I used to take him to lunch regularly. Yep. But yeah, that's a great way. Now, the other thing is all these things that we're just talking about. This is huge when you are actually in the interview with this person that just went through. They don't like their agent. Because now you actually have, number one thing I'm going to do for you is I'm going to try and find your buyer. And the cool thing about all this stuff is you're also looking for other sellers and other buyers. You are looking to double dip it.
Mhm.
And you're spending your time on your wonderful high-end listing. Tell them we could do an open house every week. Because at this point, guess what? You only have one listing. You can do it every Sunday if you want. You personally.
Right. Oh,
Now,
sure.
when you have 10 listings, guess what? You're also going to be calling new people or other agents and asking them to help to get those open houses held.
Now, I don't know his personal circumstances, so I'm out of line saying this. But just one part wonders if he can afford to do it, take it off the market till February. Because it's gonna be harder and harder to sell as we get closer to the holidays.
Here's what I usually tell people. I can't sell it if it's not listed.
Yep.
Number two, you can't get any buyers if it's not listed for yourself. Number three, you can't find any other sellers if it's not listed. Number four, people who are buying between Thanksgiving and February, they have to. And you're also in a corporate relocation price range.
Yep.
So guess what?
People do relocate.
Corporate
Yeah.
relo,
Corporate reload.
that's where you're going to be looking also.
Corporate reload.
And there's
Do we know
corporate relo
anybody?
Companies.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm the company's relocation director. I have a affinity program. I created.
Do we know anybody who knows?
Do I know anybody who knows anything about corporate reload?
Yeah, and I will give you some names of some people and you can contact them.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so that would be a separate conversation.
Yep,
So,
I understand.
and we'll, but
Okay.
anytime.
All right.
And there's also, I have an affinity program that's put together that is a little different. But Relo is a whole day. We're gonna have to do discuss Relo. Here's number one reason that our company does not do a full-blown Relo department. First of all, you have to pay somebody usually to sit there in the office, pick up the phone, and distribute leads and do whatever else, and secondly, those companies charge the agent 30 to 35% of their commission. Okay, and then we have to have something back too to pay for the person who's doing with the corporate reload. So you're looking at 45% of your to 50% of your leads you're going to have to give away.
Right.
Your commission. On top of that, they hound you like you would not believe. On top of that, you have more documentation and different documents that you have to fill out. And you have to give regular updates. So you're working 3 times harder for half the money. So a lot of people don't like it. But I will give you the names of some relo companies around, and you can always just say, hey, Midwest Properties in Michigan, we are interested in, and like I said, I'll give you that whole program and spiel that you can prospect. But I stopped prospecting it because it just doesn't pay very well in the end, and it's a pain in the butt. But people do it, so and you're welcome to do it. So might be a niche. Okay, so when you're at the listing table, though, you can come up with all these ideas and tell them how you're gonna
Right.
target market. So is that a good start?
I could get a listing presentation about
There you go. Me too. In fact, actually, I thought one of these mornings we could just
work on
come here
listing
and work on that. You know,
Right.
I need to
Let's
as
get the
well.
great. I'm
Yes.
I'm hogging everything. I
No.
apologize, Bray.
Okay, so Bree, do you want to tell your story? No?
It's been an eventful morning. So a lady called probably like 2 weeks ago that she was interested in a property. And she was separating from her husband. She hadn't been qualified or anything yet. So I just explained to her that typically sellers put in a lot of work to get their property ready, and they would just like to see that you're qualified first. So send her to connect with somebody. And she was working on that and doing the process. And then I asked her if I could set her up on a profile to send her other listings in case she didn't like that one. So when I did that, she was like, well, after talking with a lender, I don't think I'm ready right now. I just need to pump the brakes. And so I respected that and just was on hold because I knew she had a lot going on in her life, separating and whatnot. So then I get a text this morning, oh, I'm going to look at this property that I was interested in. And I said, oh, who are you going to look with? And she said, the listing agent. And so I just said, okay, well, I'd be happy to come look with you because I'm your buyer's agent, and tried to make it clear that I would be the one showing her that property. So I called the listing. Real Estate Works. She's not even the one who called the listing agent. Her friend did to set up that appointment because she thought the listing agent had to show her, told the realtor that she's not working with a realtor. So called him, explained that she's not the one that he had talked to. She's not sure how this works. She's my buyer. And he's like, well, do you have a contract in place with her? And I mean, my heart's kind of pumping at this point. And I just said, no, I don't right now. And he's like, so you don't make a relationship with your clients? And I said, well, there's kind of a backstory here. She kind of was ready to pump the brakes and needed time. And then I'm getting notification today that she's ready to look today with you. And I just said, so you don't need to be there. I'll be there at 11. And he's like, well, I'm not going to go off of just what you're telling me. I'm going to backtrack and go figure this out for myself. So reached out to the buyer, and that didn't go very well. She just was, I just said if I could clear this up a lot. There's a lot of confusion between the other agent and myself, and we could totally clear this up. I can just send you over a buyer's agency agreement. And she just said that she wasn't into signing anything, and she's fine working with him. And so then I followed up with her and told her that I was trying to take the pressure off and don't feel bullied into anything. Don't feel like you need to sign anything, and look at this property, and I'm here for you in the future with anything that you need. So just kind of left it at that.
And what'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay.
Silent.
So this is a wiggly fish story. I always call buyers and sellers that you're just trying to get a hold of like wiggly fish because it's tough. So the first thing that when I first heard this, I suggested to Bree that you want to get some control over your buyers if you can, right? And saying before we go into looking at houses, we need to get you pre-qualified because sellers don't want you put your shoe on the other foot. Let's say it's your house. You don't want people coming through your house that have not been pre-approved, right? Pre-qualified, whatever. Haven't worked with a lender. So here you get your dog, you get your your kids out, you clean the place, you get all the lights on. Maybe you take some time to run off from work so you can get to the house and get it ready. And you're so excited that you have a potential buyer here, and then it turns out that they are not even approved to be a buyer. It's just not fair to the sellers, and you wouldn't like that if somebody did it to you. She did that already. This person doesn't even care. And that happens. Some people are just like, I want it and I want it right now. Are you going to show it to me or not? So, and she even told her she was putting on the brakes a little bit because she didn't know what she's doing. So this is definitely somebody who's all over the board and doesn't care about anybody but herself, and especially doesn't care about the realtor, doesn't understand at this point how to work with a realtor. So, and I had suggested, Bree, you want to do when you have a buyer is you want to sit down with them someplace first and explain to them how this works. One of my favorite stories is right up front. I tell them, because you're going to have other people like that other guy, or the way that she interpreted you at first when you said, we'll get you a buyer's agency. They're going to go, whoa, you're scaring me. So you might want to talk to them and say, I always tell them right up front, you can work with 20 of us, and I can show you houses. He can show you houses. That's fine. That's no problem. But when you reach a point where you say, Janine, I want you to be my realtor, that is when we will do a contract, or when you're writing an offer, and I will then represent you. At that point in time, my job becomes to get you the lowest and best price possible, and to take care of, to watch after all of your best interests. Until you're under contract with any realtor, they cannot act that way with you. They cannot act as your representative, because all agents are sub-agents of the seller until they are a buyer's agent. We don't do sub-agency, so I would never do that to you where you're going to go in unrepresented. But until you pick somebody, they're all sub-agents of the seller. So go ahead, take a look with them. That's fine, absolutely fine, no problem. But when you're ready and you realize, you know what, we're going to go look at houses a little bit, and you say, you know what, I think, Janine, that you represent my best, and I want you to be my realtor. At that moment, then it's like a marriage. And except I can date other buyers, but you can't see any other realtors only after that point. So taking the pressure off. The other thing was, she had said that she didn't even like this lender because they said that she has some other things to do before she can get pre-qualified. So guess what? This person is possibly not even a viable buyer at this moment. But you can then, we talked about this, go back and say, I'll tell you what, you don't like that lender. One of the services that I provide is to help you with referrals to lenders. So I was saying to Bree, maybe what she wants to do after training hours this morning is go interview some lenders through some banks or from some brokerages. I would stay away from like the internet ones, Quicken and all that kind of stuff, Rocket, whatever. Find somebody locally that you like. And the best way to do that is you interview them. They want you to use them. You are lender's client. They want to network with you, and they want to have you feed them leads. So you're the one who's in the top of that food chain to them. So interview a few of them, and then send her maybe 2 or 3, and just tell her, something. Just want to show you that you can talk to other people, and I will definitely be there to help for your best interest. And why don't you interview these people? Before you have her interview them, you make it clear with those lenders that in exchange for me sending you this person, I want you to make sure that you're going to bring them back to me when you qualify them. Does that make sense? Okay. I actually had a lender that I worked with one time, very briefly, and it turns out she was actually a friend of a guy that my husband worked with, right? Took her to open houses with me to get people pre-qualified on the spot type of thing. They will do that if they need your business or want your business. That's somebody that can actually go with you to open houses, by the way. And before I knew it, one of the people that I had met at an open house, she was working with and was closing, but she told me, I found out because I called them, oh yeah, I went ahead and I bought a house. She says, yeah, and that lender, she's been great. I haven't even needed a realtor because she's been helping me. That was the first one. Second one, I had one of these chain things going where I had one house pending and it had another house behind it, another on a chain of like 5, and of course one fell through, and who's the dirty dog? Me, because I'm the realtor. So I contacted them after, that had all fallen through, maybe a couple of weeks when I let them calm down and everything. And they said, yeah, we actually found a different place and went through, and what was her name? I can see her face, is helping us. She went around me twice. The lender, because some lenders think that that nobody really needs realtors because they're so sharp. So be careful when you refer lenders. Lenders can be the bane of your existence here. They can also make you look good to buyers, or they can make you look really bad. Now, how did this start with this lender? Is it somebody that you had referred or that they knew, or how did it go?
So I know this lender. It's somebody that my parents have used for a long time, and it's somebody who's a good lender. And I've used him in the past, and my mother-in-law's used him, and she's annoyed with the fact that she's got to send documents to prove that she's got money because she has a good job being a nurse.
Yep.
And I just explained any lender is going to require these documents. You're free to work with whoever you want,
Yep.
but you're going to have to send these documents for anybody.
Sure, agreed. So the best thing there would be that you had helped her with this. I would suggest finding another somebody to send her or two and say,
Yeah.
something. And with this person, this is one that you take it away. Back off, take it away. You go do your own thing. Here, I'm going to give you some help. You could find her other houses to look at through this process. Keep the relationship as you're the good guy. That's kind of like our slogan, our company slogan. We're the good guys. And let her go. Before you reel her in, just let her take the line as much as possible. So, but just stay there.
Yeah.
She's not signed with anybody, and I think the best thing you did was tell her, don't be bullied and don't think you have to sign.
I really liked your
anybody else.
language there. That was nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Janine.
You did good.
We didn't say anything. We talked this morning. So anyway, so good stuff. Let's talk real quickly about buyers. Good practice is first thing when you find somebody that's going to want to buy, set an appointment to sit down together. I don't care if it's a cup of coffee, or it could be like Skyping, or it can be whatever. But you want to talk to them about what the process looks like in advance. And your first thing, you're going to talk to them. I always say, first up front, you can deal with 20 realtors. I'm not going to pressure you into signing with me. We kind of talked about that a little bit right now. But when you reach a point where you're comfortable and you think, you know what, Janine is going to represent my best interest, I tell them, I want you to tell me, Janine, I want you to be my realtor. I put it just like that. And the funny thing is, so you go show them properties, right? And you show them like 2, 3, 4, maybe at the end of the day, even 1. At the end of the day, at the end of the showing, you say, oh, you're going to leave, each other. Okay, we'll get you some more things to look at. This one didn't work, or maybe it will. You want to sleep on it. And as you're leaving, you just say, oh, by the way, I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about us working together? I think, does it feel good? Are you at a point where you're ready? And they go, oh yeah, Janine, I want you, we discussed it. I want you to be our realtor. And they literally will actually imitate what you told them they had to do before you would be signing them up as your agent.
So you're not requiring them to sign that before you show them properties?
Nope.
Okay.
The only thing,
That's what I thought we were supposed to do.
The only thing before you show them properties is first you have to ask, do you have a realtor that you're working with? Okay. And let's say you're at an open house and you say, oh, just up front, I need to ask, are you working with any other realtor? And they go, oh yeah. Oh, okay, great. What is their name? I might know them. And then they go, oh, and they look at each other and go, oh God, what's his name? Oh no, her, yeah. Okay, well, you know right now that they're obviously probably not under contract, but you don't say anything except for, great. If you're not under contract, you can actually, did you know that you can actually work with 20 of us if you want, until you reach a point where you say, Janine, I want you to be my realtor. And then it's kind of like a marriage at that point, except for I can date other buyers, but then you can't see any other realtors. But up until that point, I'm happy to send you stuff. Let's go. I suggest you try out different agents. Go take a look at houses with a number of people and see who you really feel is going to represent your best interests. And by the way, before any confidential information is exchanged, By federal law, we are supposed to tell you about the disclosure of agency relationships. And that means, have you heard that before? And they'll go, no.
This might be one of them, so I'm going to take this.
Go for it. Yep. So anyway.
Yeah, and then you have them fill out that form that's not a contract.
Yeah.
To just say, I just wanted to show you that you have this.
There's two ways to do that though. And one way is, let's say that we're at the open house, right? And these people don't know you from Adam, right? Okay, so you say, but by federal law, we're required to disclose, tell you about the agency relationship of realtors. There's buyer's agents, seller's agents, dual agents, transaction coordinators. And I tell them the story. Historically, from the time that realtors have started getting licenses, they work for the seller. Seller paid them. Their job was to represent the seller, get the best, highest price possible, blah, blah, blah. Now you're going through your story. Tell them about, but then I always say, the legislation around 1990s, they were required to tell you that they worked for the seller. And I remember this because my husband and I bought our first house in 1992. Remember specifically the agent, we're looking at houses, and as we were leaving a house, she goes, turned around, and, oh, by the way, I have to tell you that I work for the seller. And we went, oh, okay. We didn't know what that meant. So then we proceeded to tell her how much we were pre-approved for, how much, and ask her if she thought that we could get the house for a lower offer. Her job was to say no. But we didn't know that. So around 2000, they came up with designated agency relationships, where now a buyer could actually pick a realtor, any realtor, and say, I want you to represent my best interest, even though the seller is still paying the commissions, right? So that's pretty cool. So now you can pick somebody to represent your best interest, and the seller still pays the commission. But don't get too excited, because 5 years from now, you're going to call me back and you're going to say, Janine, I want you to sell my house. And I'm going to tell you, okay, and you're going to pay the commission of the other agent. You're going to go, what? So what did I just do? I also told them, not only am I going to be your agent right now, I'm also going to be your agent in 2 to 5 years, and you're going to pay the commission. So be happy that you're not paying the commission today. I've already got them all set up for that conversation right there, and I'm assuming that they're already, this little story right in the very beginning that you use, that's why I said tape it to your mirror, your refrigerator, learn that, create a story. At the end of that story, and you say, but you've been shopping around, talked to other realtors, you probably heard that before, and they will tell you no, because other agents are not. And I'm like, really? By federal law, we are required to disclose agency relationships before any confidential information is exchanged. That you want to have that conversation before you show houses, or when you show the first house.
Do you have to have them sign the document?
But you don't have to have them sign the document at that moment. It's not a contract. It says on the bottom, this is not a contract. There's two ways to do it. Roxanne, one of our agents, she always has those in her purse, right in her back pocket, and before she even talks, she has them sign it. This is not a contract. I'm a little less pressure on that, but I always talk about it up front. I just told you the agency disclosure, and then when I sit down, we're writing an offer. The first thing that comes out is that.
Okay.
But you don't have to do it that way. You could do it upon the first time that they even look at houses. But the number one thing is tell the story, go through the agency disclosure, and that is what you want to do before you show houses or at the first showing. And you can have them sign it right then and there if you want. But a lot of people get really nervous with realtors because they don't understand how we work. I remember that 1990, something when I was wanting to buy a house, or my first house, didn't know what I was doing, see these pictures back then in the newspaper of these houses, and I would call, and I remember this specifically. I would call, and I didn't understand how realtors worked, but I heard that they're expensive. And so I would get a listing agent, and the listing agent would say, okay, well, the first thing we need to do is we need to get you pre-approved. And so, you need to do that and this and that. And I was always like, I got scared. I was scared. So I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Never mind. And I wouldn't even see the house because they were scaring me, pushing me. And I'm like, maybe I'm not ready to buy a house. I don't know. This is kind of complicated. So then I called on one house. I don't think it was the one I bought. But anyway, and the woman answered the phone, and I said, can you tell me about this house? And she did. And she said, "Do you want to see it?" Just like that. I said, "Sure, can I see it?" She's like, "Yes. Let's set an appointment time to see it, but I'll also help you a little bit and tell you a little bit about the whole process." So she immediately said, "Yes, I'll show you the house," even though she didn't know I was pre-qualified. But then at the meeting, she found out, okay, here's what you do. You got to get pre-qualified. So that's another tack. You know, you don't have to have them sit through if they're skittish and they don't want to get pre-qualified. However, you want to get them pre-qualified. So that you're going to be in more control. But if you've got somebody who's out there and they've got a whole bunch of other agents, tell them about the agency disclosure always first, always, always. And then, have you had anybody crunch the numbers? And at the meeting, this is what I usually tell them. At the meeting, our first meeting, I'm going to tell you about how to get pre-approved and about the whole process of what to expect. There's no charge for that. And we'll have somebody crunch numbers and get you pre-approved at that meeting. So no charge for it, no stress, you know, no commitment needed, and get the appointment. That was my spiel for many years.
This isn't a house showing, just an appointment.
Because they want to see a house.
Okay, so you're
You're
gonna do an
representing
appointment
the
first.
buyer.
Right, so you're gonna go do an appointment first.
Appointment, yep.
Okay.
But if you say to them straight out, well, you need to get pre-approved first and this and this and this, and a lot of times they start to, you're scaring me. So that's the right way to do it, definitely, and they need to be pre-approved. But maybe that would be the second conversation. Like the first one, easier, you know, and also that's good that we're talking about this. You do not have to have the buyer's agency signed before you show properties, but you have to have it upon writing an offer. Don't let them not have a buyer's agency signed. It can even be, if they balk then, you could just say, our brokerage does not even, you need to be represented. I'm going to be your buyer's agent. To do that, we can do this for just this one house only if you like, but I'm going to be your agent. So then in your buyer's agency contract, you would fill in this residence in that. And then it expires, make sure it expires like maybe 90 days or 180, whatever days, so that you take the time to get through the whole process so it doesn't expire before you close on it. So, make sense? Does it help at all? Do you want to talk more about the meeting?
I'm not sure why you'd go through the trouble for one house.
Because they probably aren't going to buy the first house they look at.
But it gets to be used to signing for you as their realtor. That's what you're saying.
The main thing you're going to say at the meeting for one house, you don't even have to press the buyer's agency contract, except for you can say, hey, we're going to get started, we're going to look at this house, we're going to get you pre-approved. That is a letter you can put in your back pocket and you can take wherever you go.
Right.
You can use it with any realtor. We're going to get you pre-approved first. Don't feel like you have
But
to
we
make
don't
a commitment.
pre-approve them. They have to go to a lending institution.
Or you can make an appointment, tell Adrian when the appointment is, or
Yeah.
whatever lender, and you actually say, you're telling them all about the process, and in this meeting, Adrian is on the phone here. I'm gonna go get, go to whatever, my car for something. You can talk to Adrian, and over the phone, he will get them started and a pre-qualification. So that's at the meeting, it's at the very meeting.
Gotcha.
And it's a free, no obligation, no charge to you meeting in which we'll discuss how to get started and plan to buy a house. That's the title I always use. How to get started and plan to buy a house. How to get started and plan to buy a house. There's no charge for that. And at that meeting, we'll also introduce you to a lender who can crunch the numbers for you and get you a letter of pre-qualification that you can put in your back pocket, and you can look at houses with 20 different people if you want, but that's what you really need to get started to look at houses. We could do that today. We could do that before we actually go see the house. So what else are you going to talk about in that meeting? So you get your buyers and you set an appointment. You're at Big B Coffee at 11 because you're going to go see the house, and you're close to the house at 11:45, something like that, or 11:30 even. Doesn't have to be a long meeting, the first meeting. So what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about expenses that you will incur when you purchase a home. So when you decide to buy a house, it's going to cost you a little bit up front. Even though your lender might be able to get all of that back for you, you're going to have the means to pay for some things up front. First off, it depends on what kind of loan you have, but you might need a down payment of some sort. That I can't tell you, but that's where the lender is going to come in handy, and the lender is going to tell you what kind of down payment. Some programs that require maybe like 3%, we can actually ask the seller to pay that for you. It's called your buyer concession or seller concessions. Seller concessions can include your
Closing costs.
closing costs, prepaids, down payment, related expenses. Closing costs, prepaids, down payment, related expenses, depending upon your loan. But I'm not going to tell you that until your lender will tell you that. Don't get involved in that, because you tell them right now.
Don't tell them that.
You can tell them that it could possibly,
That's
it's a possibility,
Depending on the loan type, you'll be.
depending upon the type of loan that you're going to get. So, like if you get, let's say you get an FHA and they require 3% down, you might be able to get the seller concession to pay that when you ask for a certain price, you ask for 3% back from the seller. That's a conversation that you need to have with your lender before we write the purchase agreement, right? So that's a number that's up to you and the lender, they'll tell you. However, what else do you need? You're going to need an earnest deposit amount, which is a check. By check, it could be personal check that needs to be made out to the brokerage or the title company. And it's going to be typically, if you're looking at low-end homes, typically like $500 is a minimum, but banks even prefer $1,000. $1,000 is the deposit typically. Now, can that be more? Yes. If you want your offer, you're telling this right in the first meeting. Can we make the earnest deposit more? Yes. Let's say you're competing with other buyers for a house. You might want to make yours $2,500. It's up to you. One time I did one for $10,000, and they won. It was a condo, and it was many years ago. So sometimes you can say non-refundable earnest deposit. Okay, if you're really competing, but remember, as a buyer, you aren't getting that back if something happens. So maybe you'd only want to do $500 non-refundable. The other thing that's really important that you need to tell your buyer right now is this. Let's say that you win a bid and you're pending right now, okay? You go through home inspections and you discover some stuff and you don't want that house now. Because of inspection contingency, you're allowed to get out of that deal. However, the seller has to sign off for you to get your money back, even though it says in the contract that you can get your money back if for any reason title work is messed up, if for some reason financing issues happen, or if for some reason inspection contingencies make it so that you don't want that house. Okay? You'll get your money back. However, sometimes the seller can be a bit of a putz. I had it where I had the seller, and he was a retired attorney, and the buyer came with another realtor, put down a $2,500 deposit. However, my guy wouldn't sign the mutual release to get the money back. He said, I'm not signing it until I get another house. The brokers were talking to each other. My broker was talking to the other agent's broker. And finally he got his money back. But tell your buyers right up front that sometimes there can be a delay, because when there is a delay, they're going to be, once again, mad at you because I want to make an offer on another house. I don't have another $2,500 that I can put down right now. Guess what? You're going to have to wait. So tell them now. Okay, so what are some of the other expenses? You're going to have a home inspection done. I would strongly suggest you do have a home inspection because it keeps you from making big financial mistakes. And And what is that going to cost? You can hire a professional. It's going to be probably around $400-ish, $450 or so. Now, you can also have Uncle Charlie, who happens to be a handyman and knows and has a construction license. You can do that. You don't have to hire it, but it's a good idea. You're telling your buyers right now, it's a good idea to hire it. And that is an expense that you incur, not the seller, because you hire someone to scare you to death and tell you what's going on in the house. So that's an expense. The other thing that upfront expense, by the way, just between us, you can, some home inspectors will allow you to defer the payment till close, okay? But don't count on that. And now, if you've got a buyer who, first-time home buyer, they are really strapped and they're tight and they're getting scared right now, you can tell them sometimes home inspectors will postpone collection of their fee until closing. But I wouldn't just go spill that out, because now you got to find somebody who will accept that. And not only that, but if the sale falls through, the home inspector still gets paid, and so that can be a nightmare for them. So you got the home inspection. What else? You're gonna after the home inspections are done and we clear that part, and we're gonna go remove the contingency. Then your lender, and by the way, this is your job to rein in your lender to not have the appraisal done until after you're okay with inspections. A lot of lenders are going to say, yeah, we need to get going, you know, we need to hurry up on this. So, but if the deal falls through because of inspections, your buyer still has to pay for that, and they are the ones who pay for the appraisal, even though it's ordered by the mortgage company. So if you can make them, hold on, we're not quite done with inspections yet, so that you don't end up something falls through because of inspections, and they also already paid for appraisal, which is $350-ish, $450, whatever. So put $450 on there for that. That's high. Anytime that you're giving your people, you know, some guesstimates, estimates, be on the higher side and tell them that. I'm gonna
love you when
yes,
it's lower.
when it's lower, and tell them I'm telling you a little on the higher side, so that you don't have any surprises. So what else might happen? What else are the expenses that you come up with? You've got your down payment, you've got your home inspection, you've got your appraisal, pardon?
Earnest money.
Your earnest deposit, and also you're going to be required to have homeowners insurance before closing. Other things could be that you negotiate with the seller. You're going for a VA or FHA loan, and there's cracked window, and the seller says, I ain't doing it. You might end up deciding it's worth it for me to buy a window. So there could be some other possible repair costs, but those are all negotiable. So it's not like you have to cough up that money up front. So you're figuring what? 1,000, 2,000, so probably about 2,000, 2,500 that you're going to need before
The down payment.
before closing. Yep. So at this initial meeting, you just told them what to expect. You didn't. It's not that you're being paid. You're telling them this is your free consultation. You just added a ton of value that I'm telling you what, a lot of other realtors are not taking the time to sit them down in advance and tell them this. They're just like Pop-Tarts. Oh, you want to go see a house? Okay, let's go and see a house. So add your value by giving them a free consultation before how to get started and plan to buy a house. So what else do you tell them in this? You give them your agency disclosure, what expense to expect. And then also I give them typically the airplane story that that it's a sliding scale, the closing date, make everything tentative, and always have backup plans, because it's kind of like getting on an airplane in New York, and I'm the pilot and you're going to be in the plane, and we're going to go to California. It's going to be kind of a long ride, and there are I'm sure that over the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, we're going to have some turbulence. And you're gonna be holding on, your nails are gonna be white, you know, or your knuckles are gonna be white, and you're gonna wonder if we're gonna make it. We'll make it, but there are things that come up and that we just have to get through. So my job is to be the pilot, to get you to where you're going, and to try to keep you calm. So I'll give you a drink when you need. I'll bring some nuts here. Let's not get nuts. So anyway, explain to them up front some of the things that can happen. Explain to them about showings at this meeting. What's going to happen in a showing? We're going to go to the house, you know, and you might have to take your shoes off. Tell them in advance. Do you know how many, you know, guys will be like, oh, crud, I have to take my shoes. I don't want to take my shoes off, you know, whatever. But tell them that they're going to probably need to remove their shoes. If they have those little foot cover things, booties, that's fine. But I will tell you that they're slippery. I have myself slid down a stairway on my butt because of those little booties. I don't like them. So anyway, just getting prepared for that. And, you know, you can tell them if you want to bring along slippers or something like that, if you're comfortable. Just taking the time in advance to tell them about what it's going to be like to look at houses. You're also giving them, you're taking away the mystique of it all. It's really simple. So when we look at houses, you need to remember something. It's not my house. You can't offend me. I want you to open up closet doors if you want to, and I want you to feel free to imagine yourself in the house. And if you don't like it, then just say, this is not my house. And we will leave. Okay, so tell them about the experience. You know, we'll shut off all the lights, and, you know, if there's any dogs in the house, we're not going to go in unless they are in crates. I don't care if you're a dog person. If you're going to bring your kids with and there are cats, you need to tell the kids in advance. No petting the cats, okay? Make it clear. I've literally been in
The evil, nasty cat?
The evil cats. I have been in a house with the little kid going, oh, kitty, 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 and the cat. So that's not fun. So tell them in advance. Prepare the children. So I've actually had people that brought their kids too, and they go into another kid's bedroom, and they're like, toys, you know, and it's like, really?
They're like, no, this is not your playground.
I don't know, exactly. And the mom and dad are like, oh, good. So now they'll be busy while we're looking at the house. And like, so I prepare them in the meeting. So what it's going to be like if you have kids. Kids need to stay with the parents. It's in somebody else's house. You actually have to educate people like that, of that, but in a nice way. You know, you just tell them up front, this is what it's going to be like. And you can tell them, if you have kids, they tend to want to pet the kitty, and they tend to want to play with all the other kids' toys. So get ready in advance. We'll just try to keep them with us. Is that cool? Is that okay? So I asked them to get agreement that they're agreeing that yes, they will take care of the children. So anyway, so then you're not offended. So then, let's see, I was going to say something about the next step. Oh, not your house.
So-
Homework. Go ahead.
So
Remind me, homework.
when we talk about showings, and you're not going to offend me about the house, which I 500% agree with,
Because you want them to tell, I don't want this house, let's go.
but by the same token, I don't want to set the stage for a buyer to say, oh, there's a scratch, I'm not taking a house. When one paintbrush takes that away.
Okay.
So how do you balance that conversation?
Put in right now, you can talk about the, they make it a little longer now, but I always talk about the inspections, home inspections. In fact, when you can use it right up here, right up front. What we're going to do is, I'm not going to tell you that the house is in perfect condition or anything. However, you can always have inspections. If you like a house, we're going to, get you inspections, and you can get out of the deal if we find something major that is a money pit, item for you. So you can talk about the inspections in this meeting too. And that would be when we go through the house, the inspector is going to scare the pants off of you, and that's their job. You hire them. In fact, you could tell them when you're talking about an expense. Was the home inspection? Tell them what the home inspection is going to be like. It's going to be 2 to 3 hours that you're in the house with the home inspector. And it's your chance to pick apart the house and decide if you want to continue on or not. It's to protect you against large ticket items. It's not, yeah, there's a scratch on the wall. That's just going to be your to-do list for yourself. Brand new homes even have stuff go wrong with them. So it's not for us to just turn around and walk away because, and it's not for a to-do list for the sellers. It's a to-do list for you. Like if you don't like the switch plates on there and you don't like, you know, whatever, the nail holes that are in the walls, whatever, you can take note of that and then that'll be on your list to do. But inspections are not just to, you know, make a long to-do list for the sellers. So you prepare them in advance of the home inspection. Always.
And that way you're also preparing them that they're gonna see scratch, they're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Right.
the thing, is
So
that
that when they walk
Yep.
in, they
No
know
house is
this is gonna
perfect.
be, right.
never.
Never. No house, even if it's brand new. is
And
perfect.
it's always got a struggle of that decision. Is it good enough?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What it boils
Because they
down to.
qualify. So am I going to knock it out for, oh, here's the other thing is when they're looking at homes, you can tell them, and they'll say, well, how do I pick my favorite one? I always say, eliminate the one you like least first, and it will leave the one that you want best. Instead of trying to pick your favorite first, eliminate, and that was in interior design. I was an interior designer for 16 years. That's how I always handled like fabric swatches for a sofa, right?
Right.
Okay, just kick out the ones you don't like first and the angels are singing, this is the one. Yes, same thing with your house. So, and if you don't like it, let's skedaddle and get to the next. Homework though, this is really important. Okay, your job is not only do you have to work with the lender to get pre-approved and all that kind of stuff. And when we go pending, when the lender says how jump, you say how high, because any delays will delay your closing, delay you getting the house. But also, I'm going to be sending you listings. You can help me help you by telling me what you like and what you don't like. We'll get some interaction going back and forth. At first, I'm going to send you everything that seems like it might fit. Don't get overwhelmed because I'm going to send you a whole bunch of lists. Actually, in this market, there's no listings. So I take that back. In the other market, it was too many listings. But don't worry if there's not hardly anything to look at right now. Things will come on the market, or I'll find them for you. That's the other thing is we can go find houses for people. If they're not on the market, I'm going to try to help you find houses. But when I send those to you, you're going to get all excited and you're going to say, Janine, I want to go see this now. Remember 2 things. Typically, there's 24-hour notice. Okay? And number 2, your job is to go drive by the house first. You know why? Because you might have picked something out and the photographer was wonderful and you get there and there's a house that nobody saw that was right next door that has rusty cars in the yard and there's a goat. They've got stinky pigs or something in a pen.
How do you go against the argument that they're saying, well, what am I paying you for?
No,
You go pre-screen the house.
I have pre-screened it.
I'm just,
I'm going to talk to you this
Okay.
way. I have pre-screened it. I'm sending you the things that you need to look at, but here's the deal. You don't drive by it. I pack you in the car, or you pack in the car, and we meet over there. The seller has now gotten their kids all out of the house. They picked up their dog. They have the lights on. They ran home from work. They cleaned it up. They're all excited because you might want to buy their house. And we have also had the other agent schedule it. So we've got all these people that are hopping around, and you drive by and you don't even want to go in because of all that stuff next door. So before you go look at a house, feel it. And by the way,
I like that. Feel it.
yeah,
I like that.
I can't feel what you're gonna feel. So I can't just pick out a house and say, yes, you're gonna really like this if I drive by it. You know, well, I'll get you pictures of it. I can drive by it if you want, but it's more important for you to go and see if this is where you want to be. Rather than getting everybody all excited about a showing that you really don't want. Because I will tell you what, that's a pain in the butt. You got somebody who wants to see 20 houses in a weekend, and they never drove by any of them. That's the other thing with reload. You get a lot of that because they're only in the town for 2 days. And you set up all these houses and they're like, no, 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 I don't want to go in. I don't even want to see that. Now you also have to call back everybody and say, and they'll ask you for feedback, by the way. And if you have lined up and they won't even go in, you kind of look like the dirty dog. So get your people to drive by. Will they always do it? I can always tell too, because I got 5 listings and their homework was to drive by. Yeah. Okay, so we set up today and they're like, I don't know. I don't like that hill there. You know what? This street stinks, you know? So have them drive by. It will save you a lot of grief and a lot of headaches and a lot of car time.
Well, see, I remember talking to my realtor about that. And I remember talking to my realtor a couple of times saying, look, you know, we went around, looked at some neighborhoods. You know what neighborhoods we're looking for. I don't have time. I'm paying you to go find me neighborhoods that I like. You can pre-screen for me.
If you were my client, I'd say, check, done. Okay, I will drive by.
Okay.
For you.
So just don't fight that if that's where they're coming from, but then you're screening everything and you're not setting up appointments unless you think it's worthwhile.
Yes, but remember, you got 14 listings, 6
I
pendings, and 12 buyers right now.
Should that day ever happen?
It'll happen. It'll happen. It'll happen, and you're going to have a big whiteboard, and you're going to be calling me and going, I can't even see my family anymore, Janine. I hate this job. Are you making money? Yeah. Okay, schedule your appointment for your kids and go to church on Sunday and don't live your life at the same time. I swear it'll happen. Or you're going to think it now and you won't call me. Damn.
I'll tell you.
I'm making $200,000 a year, but I can't breathe. Oh, yeah.
I won't even make that when I win the lottery Tuesday, by the way, for $1.5 billion or whatever it is.
Awesome. There you
Just
go.
letting you know.
Okay. Sounds
I'll
good.
buy y'all a house. Say what?
I lost last week, by the way.
I didn't even buy a ticket last week.
Oh,
But it's like $1.5 billion now? I don't know if I even want to win that.
A lot of tickets, scratch offs for Christmas. I still had them. I won $43 on her scratch offs, and I went, forget it. I'm just gonna go put it on the lot.
There you
If I
go.
didn't pay for it, I'll put it on.
I never think to look at mine after I buy
I
it.
know. My husband's like, well, go check. Maybe you got something. And I'm like, oh, I didn't get a billion. Who cares?
Right?
That's
Like
crazy.
that.
So anyway, good stuff. And yes, anything I'm
Okay.
telling you, your client is your boss, you know. So
Right.
if you're looking at $500,000 homes and you say, or you're busy executive and you say, Janine, that's what I'm paying. Well, I say, well, listen, that's selfish me, but that's fine.
Right.
You don't need to worry
actually are.
about that, but it's okay. So
Yes.
always do. You work for every client is your boss. That's why too, when you sign a buyer's agency agreement, if you make it for a year, you're obligated for a year. These might be people that want you to go look at every house, that want to go every weekend to look at everything, that never want to make a decision, and you've made a commitment to them as well. So be careful on how long you
Right.
do any of your contracts, listing or buyers, you know. But on the other hand, depending upon the market, you might want to lock them in. Like right now, we've got buyers making multiple offers, they're not getting it, and guess what? They get irritated and they blame you. So you're my crappy realtor. Anytime somebody says they hate their realtor, typically they're going to end up hating you for some reason too. So unless you can get around it. So anyway, okay. So their homework. What else are you going to talk about in this meeting? You get them now you get them on the phone with the lender. Get them on the phone or get the lender there. Did we already do that? That the lender is present? Either present or call right then and there. You set it up with the lender to expect your phone call.
This is just easier to see. He's got people working for him, right?
He's got a team now.
Yeah.
When he first came here, he didn't. Now he has a team. So
I thought there was
But
another girl
when-
we talked
when-
to.
there are different lenders, and you know, some lenders for
How long
years.
does that call take?
With Adrian, 10 minutes, about 10 minutes or so. So yeah, we're doing the full blown, but you can do an abbreviated, like if you're just meeting just before you're showing, you're gonna pick and choose and abbreviate this. Maybe you're not gonna talk about inspections until you get closer to
Right.
If this is your first time ever, maybe unless you have an owl personality type that wants details. Corporate people tend to want more details. Before we go looking, they want this stuff. They want it to be laid out. So in that conversation, I usually excuse myself because it's none of my business, their financial stuff. So
Go check some emails.
go check your emails. Just say, while you're talking to the lender, I'm going to give you some privacy. But make sure that they're on the line before you leave. Because if you don't, and they're sitting there and they're trying to get a hold of somebody, and you just spent 10 minutes while they're sitting there by themselves going, dum, dum,
Yeah,
dum.
exactly.
We really want to do this, you know. Oh, man. So get them on the phone. You leave for a few minutes, come back, and then you ask, then you want to talk to the lender. And you can tell them, I'm gonna put you on the phone here with the lender and talk a little bit. I'll be back. And then I'm gonna talk to the lender real quick to find out what I should be doing, what I should be looking for you. You're also gonna find out what kind of loan they're getting, what the percentage is, are they qualified, and how much they're qualified for before you go showing them houses and before you start sending them more stuff. Now, while you're there, if you're doing the full-blown meeting, after you get back to the table, Adrian will, they'll hand you the phone. Adrian will say they are qualified for an RD loan, 0 down, and up to $200,000. And they're going to want to look specifically in this area. Okay, cool. So you jot all that down. Now you can open your laptop if you want and say, let's look for some houses right now for you. If you're already going to go look at houses, fine. But in your initial meeting, buyer meeting, you can do that. And you open up the computer and you look at stuff together and you get them excited about what they're going to go look at. That was the secret to my success in my very first year, is this buyer's meeting. I worked with a lot of buyers my first year too. And this appointment is free, no pressure, no stress, and then you end with the fun part, and that is bringing up listings, and you put them in for an automatic search. So that from here on out, they're going to receive new listings as they come onto the market.
Is there a video on how to do that?
It is super easy.
Okay, good, because I totally missed that part on Friday, or Wednesday.
I figured out
You didn't
how
talk
to
about-
send up an automatic
I don't
search
see
for
the
my
part.
wife for our
You did?
business,
Okay.
and it's super easy.
Okay.
You didn't talk about that on Friday, did you? Setting up a
No.
search, no?
Well,
Friday.
on Wednesday, you mean?
Yeah, Wednesday.
They talked about it, but they didn't show us how to do it, but it's not hard.
Okay.
How many videos was supposed to be on Facebook to watch? Because I only seen 3.
I was
They're
gonna say,
very
I
short.
only saw, a few that were very short.
Ask Jamie before you leave, because she can show you where they are, and there should be a lot more. He made a bunch of videos.
And I thought he talked about if there's only so many videos, but I
There's
couldn't
a-
remember what he said. Do you?
Ask
The
Jamie.
MLS has those tutorial videos too.
Yeah.
I love Gage's videos because they are he does a great job at that.
I think he was pretty informative.
The part I thought was very.
Even the part I
And
remember.
we were super.
Did you take notes?
Yeah.
Good.
So we weren't that far off.
Awesome.
Okay, any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, so I love the idea
So
of opening the laptop and looking.
Mhm.
What do you do if their qualifications are very tight and there are, in this market, nothing comes up where they're at?
Good question.
What-
Next
what do you-
step.
it's like,
Another
I
step.
mean, if it's easy, if you have 5 you to look at.
Right,
But what if it's not easy? What
right.
if it's slow?
Yeah, well, then all of a sudden, close the laptop
Yeah.
and you
And
say,
be all embarrassed?
no, guess what? We have got some work to do. What I want you to do is there's nothing here, right? So other agents are going to tell you, gee, there's nothing to look at. Well, you know what? There's always something to look at. So here's your assignment. Go find 5 different neighborhoods or houses that you think you like. And I will go try to find you a house to buy. And so now you are going to,
Oh, that's.
I was gonna say, I thought that was gonna be your response.
nobody's doing it.
See? And then you go to the neighborhoods and you
Hell yeah,
knock
now
on
guess
doors
what?
and say, hey,
You
I
are
got a
prospecting
buyer.
for listings, you're gonna double dip it, you're gonna find people that actually are interested in selling their house that nobody else knows about, and your buyer just thinks you so rock. Like you said, there's nothing to look at. And I can't tell you how many agents say to me, there's nothing to look at, and so I'm not showing properties. I'm like, you should be so busy right now, because if there's nothing to sell, you gotta go find stuff to sell. So,
Right.
or you can tell them, you know what? I look for houses for my buyers. So give me an area you want, and I'm going to spend every Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday, because Friday's my fun day. So I meet with other people that are fun during
Not
Friday.
like you.
Yeah, really. But I'm going to go find you some houses. Now, where else are you going to find houses? For sale by owners? And this is where your buyer's agency contract comes in. If you put in there 3%, then you can even go find FSBOs that say they won't pay you. It's already in your buyer's agency contract. They're going to pay you 3%. You can put that in rather than seller to pay out commissions. If you have a wiggly fish like you had that's got scared, then you put in seller to pay out commissions, and then you just go find FSBOs and you say, and you have a buyer, you really have a buyer in your back pocket right now. And you go to the FSBO, are you willing to work with a realtor, a buyer's agent? I got a buyer. Then you preview their house, you bring in the show and sell, and in advance of bringing the buyers through, you got a contract that says they will pay you commission.
So that you had me take that out, right?
What? So sellers will pay out commission.
Because that's for FSBOs.
If you have a FSBO, it's better to have that the buyer agrees to pay 3%.
Mhm.
It's always, and especially in this market now, it's better to have in there a number. If you got a buyer though that's saying, I'm not committing to that, that's scaring them, then just put in there fine seller to pay out commissions. So now it makes your job a little harder, because you're not going to show them a FSBO that says, no, I'm not paying you anything.
So I just
Okay.
have the percentage in there, so I'm covered either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can, if you put the percentage in there and they're fine with it, then it's at your own discretion if you want to collect it or not. You
Okay.
can say,
So if it's like trying to make the deal and you could change that.
right,
Okay.
it's up to you, but you have it that you could charge them.
Okay,
So you'd be at 3% here, or, but.
Your success fee would be 3% somewhere in there,
Yep.
whatever. Yeah, but you don't have to. It's all negotiable. But if you're gonna go find them FSBOs, guess what? At this initial meeting, you can tell them, I'm gonna put that into our contract so that the seller will pay me, but, or you're gonna have to pay that as one of your expenses. The important thing is to remember, just because it's always been done a different way, don't get scared of it to be new, because the whole industry is moving towards buyers are going to have to pay their realtors. So they're getting to the point where they're paying less and less and less on the listing side. So you're going to have your buyer's contracts with something to pay you. It's okay. It's just an expense of doing business. Like that $195 transaction management fee, everybody pays it who does it. It's not that big of a deal. It's part of the expense of doing business. In fact, that $195 transaction fee, you can put that in when you're telling them how much it's going to cost them. But remember, you can ask for prepaid closing costs and related expenses back from the seller. So you can have the seller pay for a lot of it. However, even if the seller pays for a lot of it, sometimes you have to cough it up front, and then you'll get it back at close. Oh, by the way, also remember to tell them that their earnest deposit goes towards the price of the house. It's not an additional fee. So if you buy a $100,000 house and you put down $1,000, then you're financing $99,000. So anyway, you're going to tell them that you're going to go pick up 5 houses. FSBOs, you're going to look. Expireds are another thing. I will spend some time looking at expired listings that didn't sell. Maybe go for longer than the ones that just expired or the ones that just expired. I got a buyer. Can we, they've already been listed. They already understand and expect to pay a realtor. Expireds are great. You can tell them, now it's my turn to do some work for you. Do you think that any other agent that they call on the phone and say, can I see this house? And they say, sure, meet you there right now. Didn't talk to them about this stuff in advance or didn't form a relationship with them. They're going to think more of you than they are anybody else. But you're absolutely, they're wiggly fish. It's hard to get them, sometimes hold on to them long enough to even make them sit down and do this meeting with you. So that's when you really, just, give them some line before you set the hook. Do you like to fish?
I don't eat meat.
Is fish meat? I guess it's meat.
Yeah.
Oh. And you probably wouldn't want to kill, and you wouldn't want to just kill them either, would you? Here in Weddington, I can't tell you how many giant salmon
Look at her. This.
I swear, I got a picture. I will show you a picture. In fact, I reeled in one.
You show me a picture of a salmon.
It wasn't quite that big. It was like this big. I did, and I had a broken hand.
Oh my God.
Because my girlfriend and her husband lived in Ludington, or no, they had a slip there in a big boat. And it was my day, our day, myself and my ex got to go to Ludington for, the weekend, for the day fishing. And I was hurrying up, live in Rockford here. That's a long drive, so I'm in a hurry putting ice in the cooler and trying to get stuff going. And I wanted to hurry up and get there. Slipped on an ice cube, landed back this way, and I looked at it. You know how when you break something, it kind of is shaky and everything. And I was like, I think I broke that. And then I'm like, maybe not. Let's go. So we stopped at a Spectrum, I thought, well, maybe we'll get an x-ray just real quick. And I stopped in there. How long before you could see me there? Like 2 hours. I'm like, forget it. It's fine. So we got on the boat, and it was an evening. And sure enough, and the funny thing was, too, it was starting to really throb. And the fish weren't biting. And they had all of these lines, and it was my line. And I stood up, and I said, all right, fish, this is getting sore. You better do it now or never. And all of a sudden it went, I'm like, oh God. I couldn't get the thing.
Now that's a fishing story right there.
I couldn't get it out of the thing even because, my hand was, and so the guys got it, put it into that little thing that you got, where you have, and I was literally feeling it like that. And it was, oh my God, it was killing me. And that puppy, it was about like that.
Wow.
It was a 17-pounder.
My husband just did that with my dad. They just did that this summer, and he got a 23-pounder.
Oh my gosh, is that
Yeah.
fun though? So
They loved it.
She made my son-in-law pick it up because I wasn't gonna pick it up.
I just saw it for a second.
Anyway, sorry to borrow more stories.
That's a nice fish.
Did you get a fish?
I did. I made my son-in-law hold it though.
Oh yeah. Where did you get that?
Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan.
Nice.
Oh, cool. I love Ludington though.
He was so fun. He's a Marine. And he went to pick it up and he was like, I'm gonna throw up. It's so slimy. This is disgusting. And I'm like, you are a Marine. Fish up.
Marine that doesn't want to hold up fish.
Like, come on, man up. All right, I do have a question on vacant land.
Okay.
Listing it. When you do a CMA on it, like if it's part of the development, and the whole development's already been developed and they've been sitting on this one lot, how do you do a CMA on that? Do you just look for more lots?
Well, you
area?
look for what the lot's sold for.
Okay.
Just that's the easy one actually.
Mhm.
So now you're going to go back in the history of the development, and just the lot only. By the way, if you have new construction like that, get paid on both sides. You don't have to,
Right.
but you can sell the lot, and you can also help them find the builder, and you can make the sale of the lot contingent upon builder approval. And then you get them a couple of builders to interview, and you are there present, and you get the builder to give you a commission. They build it into the price. Some builders will want you to be fully involved with the whole process and say, oh yeah, you want a commission, you're gonna go with them to the store and help them pick out their faucets and their colors, which I love, but, yeah. And some just say, you got it, check, that's your deal, and I will build a house and give you a check. So you have to find out from the builders, but make sure to get something in agreement that they'll pay you a commission.
How do you search for land owned?
Vacant land.
There's a drop down, there's like residential, commercial, and living vacant.
Any other questions or
On
anything?
property?
I have a side note about signs. I'm getting them made here locally. So the brokerage number goes under the name, right?
Yeah, either the phone number or the address, or both if
Okay.
you want, underneath the logo, yeah, underneath the logo.
Okay.
And it
Does that size matter or just small?
It could be really small.
Okay. And
The
the number
logo
for
is the
that,
The logo and the name of the brokerage is the most important thing. Your name cannot be bigger than from the top of the.
Yep.
No, all right.
yep. Okay. What's the number that's going on there? I just got to email them the number real quick.
616-364-8831.
Okay. And then I'll send you a picture of that before I order them then, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Cool.
Good? Everything good? Any more?
I can't remember. I was gonna ask them.
Where's the drop down on vacant land?
Is that not there?
On menu? Where's that?
No, when you're doing a search.
Yeah, okay, so I do search. So,
We're a little early. Do we
Do a
need to
quick
go
search.
more, or does
Yeah,
everybody
do a
have
quick
stuff you want to
Okay.
do?
I'm going to go tackle this and make this into a file here and get
Okay.
things going.
Okay,
properties-
sounds good.
A million.
See
All
ya.
right.
Property
Yo.
type. I only have
Bye.
condominium, farms, single family residence, or stock co-op.
So now do I send in those papers that I got signed yesterday, just the buyer's agency agreement or do I just?
You
keep
can
that
hold on to those.
until the purchase agreement?
Oh, maybe it's here
Sure,
residential.
or you
There
can
it is.
start.
I'm like, I knew it was
Okay.
somewhere.
I have it
Okay, good.
at a time to.
Don't worry about it.
think about
Don't worry about
that.
Just keep it in mind.
So, is there anything I need to know? Because I do have somebody who said, hey, I've got a lot, I'd love for you to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm like, okay. So,
Talk to, they have a lot, so you want to talk to whoever is developing it, for sure.
well, I think it's been
Divide it.
developed for a long time. Because
Okay.
they bought it in like 2003
Okay,
and have been holding it.
good.
And now
Assignment.
they're like, we're sick of,
Guess what? Get the information, the permanent parcel number, all that kind of stuff. Go down to the township, talk to the zoning people and talk to everybody down there. Say, I'm a new agent, I'm looking at vacant land a lot. I want you to help me.
okay,
And if you go in person,
Mhm.
they will help you.
Right.
If you call them on the phone, they'll tell you, go look it up.
Right.
In fact, you might want to bring cookies. Always get along with your township people because they can make you happy or they can make you out to be a bad guy.
Mhm.
So, but they will have, and they love to talk about it. The people who run that
They
stuff,
do, yes. Mhm.
and they'll tell you, oh yeah, this perked back in, this one had a lot of trouble perking, but then, and this one, they got in trouble with the DNR because it was a wetland area and they removed it and then they had to put it over there and then they had to, they'll tell you everything. Oh yeah, the neighbor,
Definitely.
those
Tell me about
neighbors,
that.
those neighbors are always fighting over there, or man, that's a great neighborhood, or they will tell you everything about it.
Just ask them about the neighborhood.
Anytime you have vacant land, I would suggest you definitely go down and talk to them, especially if it's waterfront or it's been a while that it's been, since it's been platted.
Right.
You'll get all the stuff on it.
Cause I kind of think the prices on vacant land are kind of all over the spectrum as
They
well,
are.
because they're not so market driven maybe. Is
Well, I
that
just
what it
looked, I was looking at vacant land that sold in the last 6 months in Rockford School District. And outside of waterfront property, I would generally gauge it as $10,000 to $20,000 an acre. That's what they paid for it. There's a few exceptions, but
Yeah.
just in Rockford though. And the reason why I'm
And
doing
look at
that is
that
my,
particular plat.
Title thing?
Yeah.
Title
Yeah.
packet?
Oh, yeah.
When you go to the
Listing
Listing
bracket.
So-
Ask for that first.
Okay.
Yeah, and read it. It'll give you some stuff. But it really, if you have a plat that's already being, or has
Right.
been, might get a good idea of what those all sold for. Maybe
Right.
they are, like, for instance, there's a plat called Knockadoo over on.
Oh, yeah, I know, it's up on Myers Lake, right?
Mhm. I listed that the very first, when it first started.
I saw your signs, now that you just said that, it went ding, 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 that's right, I remember that.
Unfortunately, though, I was the first one to list it.
Mhm.
So the first year, it was all a mud puddle anyway, and,
Right.
and selling that first lot.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
So he didn't, but he's used me many times at that builder, Nugent, through the
Oh,
years.
right. Mhm.
And so then I lost it because it was a year.
Right.
So he's like, well, I think we'll try something different. I was like, those lots were all 120,000 or more.
Right, right.
And what's the rhyme or reason? It's just because he wanted to make a high-end development.
Mhm. Right.
And he's putting $1 million homes on it. So.
Yep.
Wish I'd never lost that. If I'd have only been the second listing instead of
Right,
the first.
right.
Anyway, somebody else was eating my lunch. I got green muck boots though that I used to wear that I bought just for that place because I was always out
It was
there.
a big mud puddle.
It
over
was
there,
in the
you're not
mud.
kidding. It really was.
So,
That's funny.
so are we good? We go do some work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, did you get an answer on that showing time? And she didn't email you or call you or leave a voicemail about the other potential offers?
Nope.
Wow. How's that for follow-up?
No, so I texted her, asked her.
Okay.
So,
For a showing? You're trying to get a showing?
well, I did the Showtime thing and.
When is it? When's the showing?
Today,
At,
Oh.
12:30 and 2:30. So I blocked out.
I'd call. So wait, you're meeting somebody at the house?
Potentially me.
Oh, you're looking at, I don't get it.
It's a long story.
So you're going together?
Yeah.
Well, it's some kids that, it's the same couple that I sent to Adrian and stuff, and they're stuck on this house, and so I just reached out to him to see if I could use his builder, because I need to find out how much the cost of this repair would be on this bank owned house. And I'm not talking to my contractor, so
Yeah.
I just said, because I assume he does them pretty fast.
Well, I'll do a rough.
So he said he
magnitude
can
estimate. And
do
my builder and I
okay.
are usually, my contractor and I are usually,
He said he
You're not
could
going
do
with the buyer. going
I
with
already took
yourself.
him out there,
Okay.
but we're just going to look at the property to see what it's gonna take to fix it.
Did the other agent know that?
I just said it was a second showing,
Okay.
so, but anyways,
just do a favor. Now, so the other option is that one of my companies could buy the property and then sell it online, fix it up,
And then do land
and then do a
contract.
land contract.
So your people that
Because
are
they haven't even-
sketchy.
haven't,
Ta-da!
so. So that's,
So So I have it, I'm looking at it 2 ways. One,
I
I'm doing
didn't,
a
I didn't
favor
know
for
he
April.
did that, but,
2, I'm looking at it for my company.
Well, there you go. Don't forget disclosure everywhere. You're gonna have to disclose like crazy because it can't look like collusion that you guys are, So you're an agent, for profit and loss are on all of your documents. So,
If we get that far.
so I guess I will.
But the grenade in this was that the listing agent had indicated there's potentially offers on this place. So it's like, wait a
Yesterday.
second, time out. If there's offers, I don't want to do all this just to be a contingent offer. That's kind of
It's
wasting.
backup offers.
right, they said they're looking for backup offers?
She said it came back on Showtime for yesterday's that these would be considered backup offers because there were offers due Friday at 3 p.m.
So you just need to know if they accepted one or not.
Yeah, and so that's what I texted her. Did you get the offer that you wanted on, this property? But she's not texting back, so I guess I'm trying to call her.
I would call and just say, is it pending? Or did you
Can you look
did
up-
you accept an
Do
offer?
you have, because I'm not logged on to
They
Brock.
don't have to put it on yet.
Oh, okay.
They have so much time to put it on.
Okay, so that was one question I had. How much time do they have to change the status from active to pending or under
3
contract?
days, wasn't it?
I think it is like 3, but,
3 days.
that's
That's
changed.
what they said in our training.
It wasn't 3.
Do
Okay.
people live to that?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
By
because
that
it's a
look, I'd
rule.
say the answer is no.
You should just do it, you know,
Well,
because
I'm
people
not
will
saying
turn,
I'm-
I know, people will turn you in. I'll turn people in, you know, they don't pin, and they do it on purpose. Sometimes I forgot to pin. When you got 14 listings, 6 pendings, and, you know, it's like, fine, okay? And so, but some people drag their feet intentionally because of inspections or
So it kind of keeps the
getting
door
more
open.
on, right? So that, it's a no-no.
I've seen a few where it's clear that they're waiting for inspections to finish, and it's like.
And some will just tell you right out, I'm waiting until inspections, my seller said to do that. Seller rules, remember, so, but that's, you know, that's still recording.
It is.
Penned everything.
Penned
Okay.
everything,
All right.
there is no pending. That's what we
Okay.
heard.
How do you shut, do you know how to stop that thing?
I think,
Don't shut it,
Don't
she says.
shut it.
Nope, there's a stop recording right here.